September 2018. People are setting Nike sneakers on fire. Within a week, online sales jump 31%. The stock hits an all-time high. Nike gains $6 billion in brand value. 4 months later, Gillette watches all of this and runs the exact same play. Customers filmed themselves dropping Gillette cartridges into trash cans, but this time, the brand loses $9 billion. Same playbook. Here's why it only worked once. Since the 1990s, Gillette had been mailing free razors to young men on their 18th birthday, distributing millions of samples annually. Inside each one, a brochure comparing life milestones. Your first suit, your first date, your first real razor. Welcome to manhood. Gillette will be there. That small gesture captured everything the brand had been doing for over a century. In 1901, King Camp Gillette invented the disposable safety razor. Cheap handle, expensive replacement blades. During World War I, the U.S. military issued 3.5 million razors to American soldiers. When those men came home, they brought the habit with them. For the next 100 years, Gillette didn't just sell shaving. It defined what masculine aspiration looked like in advertising. Athletes, celebrities, competition. In 1989, they launched a tagline that would last 3 decades. The best a man can get. By the early 2000s, they controlled roughly 70% of the global razor market. Procter & Gamble bought the company in 2005 for $57 billion, one of the largest acquisitions in their history. Then the ground started moving. In 2012, a guy named Michael Dubin stood in a warehouse and looked directly into a camera. "Our blades are great," he said. The Dollar Shave Club video went viral. Within 48 hours, 12,000 orders crashed their website. By 2016, Unilever bought the startup for $1 billion. The pitch was simple. Why pay $25 for cartridges locked behind plastic cases at the drugstore when $3 blades ship to your door? Then Harry's launched a year later with the same approach. Better design, lower prices, direct to consumer. These weren't just cheaper alternatives. They felt like brands built for a different generation. By 2018, Gillette's market share had fallen from 70 to 54%. Grooming revenue had declined for 3 consecutive years. Gillette cut blade prices 12% in 2017. All it did was make less money on products fewer people wanted. Meanwhile, beards were trending. Men's shaving frequency dropped from 3.7 to 3.2 times per week over the decade. Young men were watching YouTube tutorials on beard care, buying oils and balms instead of cartridges. Gary Coombe, who ran P&G's grooming division, described the situation plainly. They were losing share, losing awareness, and losing penetration with younger consumers. Something had to change, and across the aisle, Nike had just shown them how. Here's what Gillette studied before making its move. In September 2018, Nike released its 30th anniversary Just Do It campaign, starring Colin Kaepernick, the quarterback who'd been effectively blacklisted from the NFL for kneeling during the national anthem. The tagline, "Believe in something, even if it means sacrificing everything." The backlash looked catastrophic. Customers filmed themselves setting shoes on fire, cutting swooshes off their socks. The president tweeted his disapproval. Nike's stock dropped 3% in 2 days. Then the data came in. Online sales up 31% year over year. Quarterly income up 10% to $847 million. Nike's stock recovered and reached new highs in the months following the campaign, an estimated $163 million in earned media. But here's what most people missed about Nike's success. It wasn't a gamble. Before launching the campaign, Nike already had the data. YouGov research showed 46% of recent Nike customers viewed Kaepernick favorably. Only 23% didn't. Their customer base skewed young, urban, and diverse. Sports analyst Matt Powell summarized it bluntly. Angry older conservatives were not Nike's core demographic. Nike hadn't taken a leap of faith. They'd read the room, confirmed their audience agreed with them, then placed a bet they already knew they'd win. The headline every marketing team took away from this was simple. Take a bold stance on a divisive issue. Absorb the outrage. Come out stronger on the other side. Gillette's leadership saw this blueprint, and in January 2019, they ran the play. On January 13, 2019, Gillette uploaded a 1-minute 48-second film to YouTube. It opened with men staring into bathroom mirrors as audio from news reports played. References to bullying, the Me Too movement, toxic masculinity, then a series of scenes. Boys wrestling while a row of fathers stood behind backyard grills muttering, "Boys will be boys," men catcalling women on the street, a male executive talking over a female colleague, then rephrasing her idea as his own. Actor Terry Crews appeared in footage from his congressional testimony about being sexually assaulted. Men need to hold other men accountable. The ad shifted. A father stepping in to stop his son from bullying another kid. A man breaking up street harassment. Young boys learning respect. The 30-year tagline was inverted. They swapped the best a man can get for the best men can be. Not a single razor appeared in the entire film. The director was Kim Gehrig, best known for Sport England's This Girl Can, a campaign designed to empower women. Gillette committed $3 million to nonprofits supporting boys and men. The logic mirrored Nike precisely. Take a controversial stand, lose the customers who were leaving anyway, win the younger generation who would stay. The YouTube comment section ignited within hours. One commenter captured the mood better than any headline. Gillette sent me a nice pack of razors for my 18th birthday, and then the next year they tell me I'm a bad person. Piers Morgan, a British TV host with over 6 million Twitter followers, declared the ad might drive him from a brand he'd used his entire adult life. #Boycott Gillette trended globally. Customers filmed themselves throwing razors in the trash. The dislike ratio climbed to 2-to-1, then 3-to-1. At its peak, the video accumulated well over 1 million dislikes, significantly outnumbering likes before YouTube later removed public dislike counts. On the surface, it looked exactly like Nike's first week. Burned products, boycott hashtags, outraged pundits. Gillette waited for the turn. The part where the sales surge, the stock rebound, the vindication. It never came. Within days of the Gillette ad, a small watch company called Agard released a counter video. "What is a man?" the narrator asked over footage of firefighters rescuing children, soldiers returning to their families, fathers holding their kids. The video racked up nearly 5 million views. Agard was so overwhelmed by orders they had to back-order inventory and started donating to veterans' charities with the surplus revenue. The company that accused men lost customers. The company that honored them couldn't keep up with demand. A Glocality's study of male Gillette consumers later confirmed what was happening. Most Gillette buyers were traditional men who valued family and national pride. Gender politics ranked low on their concerns. Nike had surveyed its customers and found alignment before spending $1. Gillette skipped that step, and the gap between the two companies ran deeper than audience research. After the Kaepernick ad, buying Nikes became a public act of solidarity. You walked down the street wearing your stance. The swoosh was a signal visible to everyone. Razors live in bathroom drawers. Nobody sees the brand at 7 a.m. There's no social currency in a blade cartridge. Nike sold identity. Gillette sold a utility. And unlike Nike, which faced substantial competition across footwear and apparel categories, Gillette was sailing a dominant position. Marketing columnist Mark Ritson put it plainly in Marketing Week. Nike didn't have a dominant market share to protect. Gillette did. Nike could afford to take a risk. Gillette, sitting at 50% of the entire razor market, had everything to lose. Nike's Kaepernick campaign had featured athletes overcoming impossible odds. A kid from Compton becoming one of the greatest tennis players alive. A one-handed linebacker making an NFL roster. The audience walked away feeling elevated. Gillette's ad spent most of its runtime showing men at their worst. Bullying, catcalling, dismissing women. Positive examples arrived only in the final seconds. Susan Cantor, CEO of branding firm Red Peak, explained the critical difference. Nike endorsed conviction without telling you what to believe. Gillette explicitly admonished behavior, and marketing columnist Ritson went further. Rather than inspiration, the Gillette's ad felt vindictive and accusatory, not showing the better path, but telling men they were all on the wrong one. Kaepernick himself had lost his NFL career for kneeling. When the Nike ad said, "Sacrifice everything," the man on screen had actually done it. That personal cost gave Nike's campaign a credibility that no production budget could manufacture. Gillette had spent 30 years running ads built on aggressive masculinity, sponsoring combat sports, celebrating dominance, selling competition. The same archetypes it now labeled toxic had generated billions in razor sales. P&G's fiscal year 2019 earnings made the damage concrete. Grooming net sales fell from $6.5 billion to $6.2 billion, a single-year decline of $352 million. Then came the headline number, an $8 billion non-cash write-down on the Gillette brand, creating a quarterly net loss of $5.24 billion. P&G attributed the write-down to currency fluctuations, lower shaving frequency, and new competition. The ad went unmentioned. But the data told a story the earnings call didn't. A survey found that 77% of viewers felt hopeful after watching the ad, but only 34% said it made them want to buy Gillette products. The campaign had also reached an audience that was 51% female, people who might applaud the message on social media but weren't shopping for men's razors next Tuesday. Gillette had built the most talked about ad of the year. They just built it for people who would never buy the product. When Marketing Week asked Gary Coombe directly about the backlash and the write-down, he didn't retreat. He called it a price worth paying. His reasoning, for the majority of people to fall more deeply in love with today's brands, you have to risk upsetting a small minority. But the people he upset weren't a small minority. They were the majority of his customers. By August 2019, Gillette quietly announced a pivot. No more social issues, the new focus, spotlighting local heroes like firefighters and personal trainers. The experiment was over. 4 years passed. In December 2023, P&G took another $1.3 billion write-down on Gillette. The compounding hadn't stopped. As for the brand itself, Gillette is still around. P&G's grooming division still holds roughly 60% of the global blades and razors market, and in 2024, Gillette posted its strongest organic sales growth in years. They quietly moved away from the best a man can get, launched cheaper product lines to compete on price, and never ran another ad like it. The brand survived. But the era where Gillette was untouchable, where fathers handed sons that first razor and no one even considered the alternative, that was already slipping. The ad didn't kill it, but it made sure everyone noticed it was gone. Nike knew who was in the room before it started talking. Gillette didn't. And the generation they were trying to win is still buying from Dollar Shave Club.